All right, so we just went over the answers to 4, 4. So why don't we just sit there for a few minutes and do some of these. So on the quiz, this is basically the stuff that I've assigned for homework, like any of that's fair game, all right? Like I said, except for those problems where it says list the possible roots, okay? Again, you're going to have to do that to get the solution to your answer, but I'm not going to ask for the possible roots as part of your answer. I'm just going to ask you to solve for x or to find the roots, okay, or find the zeros, that kind of thing. Everybody with me on that? All right. So really from 10 to 15, that was a chunk I gave you, right? And then 17 to 22, I gave you that chunk. So really, any of those I could give you on the quiz. I don't know how many I'm going to put on there just yet. I don't know if I'm going to put 10 questions on there or not. Because, some are not that long, but then some are a little bit lengthy, right? I'll try not to pick the ones that are going to take forever, all right? I really don't do that on a quiz. I try to allow you to have enough time to do it. So I could have 10 questions, all right? But it might be hard to get 10. And I try to have a variety of questions. I don't like to give you like 4 questions that are exactly the same. There's no reason for that. So I try to look at them, give you a little bit of variety. And with 2 lessons, I'm not sure if I could fit in 10 questions without doing too much repeating. So there's possibility of 5 questions on that. Is that all right? Or would you rather have 10? Would you rather have 10? All right, I'll try to fit 10 on there. I'll give you the whole class period to do the quiz. All right. But see, that doesn't work with my grading. Yeah, I do too. It doesn't work with my grading. It doesn't work with my grading scale. It's either 5 or 10. Okay, so I don't know. It could be either way. It could go either way. All right, just depends on how I feel. Let's get to work though. Let's ask me a couple of these. All right, let's do a few of these. Did we go over 10 to 15 the other day, or we didn't go over those at all? All right.
That's why we kept this. We can go over today.
Okay, so we can go over 10 to 15, and we can go over 17 to 22. So whatever ones, let's just sit there for about half the period, and then we'll go to 4-3 for the other half. 14. Okay. So let's do this. So number 14. 2x to the 4th minus x cubed. Whoops. X cubed minus 6x plus 3 minus 6x plus 3 equals 0. Okay. What are we trying to do? It says determine the rational roots, finding the roots of this. Okay, so finding the answer. Basically, I don't know why they don't do this. Maybe there's a reason. Basically, we're just solving for x. All right, that's what we're doing here. So what are we going to do first? I got a coefficient out in front, and then I got this constant right here. So let's list the possible roots, okay? Because we need numbers to be able to plug into this. All right, so let's do it. So the p and the q, remember that? Divide, plus or minus, plus or minus. All right, so what is the p? This one right here is the p. So what are your possible factors of 3? Just 1 and 3. I'll get my pen to work, right? 1 and 3. What about q? This is q. Let's put a little q right there. All right? Yeah, just plus or minus 1 and 2. Plus or minus 1. Oh, why is this? This worked fine last period. Now it's acting weird. All right, it's plus or minus 1 and plus or minus 2. All right? So now what we have to do is actually do the division. Actually get the p over q. All right, so what are your possible roots here? Well, it's, plus or minus 1 over 1, which is 1. And then let's go to this. Remember, I like the whole numbers first, all right, or the integer numbers. So 1 over 1 and then 3 over 1. I'll just put a 3, but everything's plus or minus. And then we got 1 over what? 2. And then we have what? 3 over 2. Did we cover everything? Yep. 1 over 1 is 1. 1 over 2 is a half. 3 over 1 is 3. 3 over 2 is 3 halves. So those are my possible values, or or my possible roots. So my answer is going to be, there's going to be 4 of them. So really, what do we have? We got 8 possible roots, don't we? My answer is going to be 4 of these. Well, you might have some negative, you might have some i's in there too, I don't know. But let's put it in here. So what do? Let's pick one. Which one do you want to pick? Negative one? Is that because it works? Or let's just start with positive one, then we'll work our way down. I don't even know what this is going to be. But let's try positive one. Now, let me show you something. I should have said something earlier, but there's 2 ways to do this. We've always been doing this. F of what? Whatever number we pick. Which number do we pick? Pick a 1. You could do it this way, or you could do this. Okay? Which way would you rather? Oh, almost forgot something. Look. What's missing? X squared. So if I'm going to do it this way, I'll tell you what, let's not do it there. Let's do it down here. So I don't need to do it both ways, but you could pick either way. You could just plug in a 1 to all this and see if it's 0, or you could divide this, right, with synthetic division by an x minus 1, which would be a 1 right here. So you could do the synthetic division and see if it comes out to a remainder of 0. What would you rather do? Now, 1, it wouldn't be that hard. But if you're starting to put in other numbers like 3 and 1/2 and 3/2, it might be easier to go this route. Let me just show you, all right? Because our remainder, no matter which way we do it, our remainder is going to be the same, all right? Whatever it is, even if it's not 0, our remainder is going to be the same, okay? Whether we put it in for this, we're going to come out with a number, and then whatever our remainder to this division is, it's going to come out to that same exact number. Let me just show you. So f of 1, put a 1 in there, that's a 2. Put a 1 in there, that's a minus 1. Put a 1 in there, that's minus 6, plus 3. And what's that? 2 minus 1 is 1. That's negative 5. Negative 5 plus 3 is negative 2. Did I do my math right? Okay, sometimes I go too fast on those. You could do it that way. Now, that's not going to be one of our factors, is it? All right, because it doesn't come out to a 0. But I'm just showing you this other way. Maybe some of you will like synthetic division way more than plugging a number into this thing and getting an answer. All right, especially, remember the other day we put it in and it was like a 3 to the 5th or something? Then we had to do a lot of work. Sometimes doing synthetic division would be easier than doing it this way. All right, it's up to you. I'm just giving you the choice. And I really didn't explain that you had a choice when we first did these, but you do. So you could do this. What's my coefficients? 2, negative 1. What's this right here? I need an x squared, so what's that going to be? 0x squared, and then negative 6 and 3. So that's one little thing. It might be a little hiccup if you didn't know what you were doing. Bring this down. All right, some people like to do this. You can do this synthetic division maybe faster than you could do this. I don't know. So you multiply, then you add, you multiply, you add, multiply, add, multiply, and add. And check it out. Look, that negative 2 is the same thing as that remainder, isn't it? All right, so it doesn't matter how you do it. You're still going to get the same number. So you decide. It's up to you. All right, if you want to do the synthetic division or if you just want to plug it in and see if it works. Does anybody have a feeling that they might like to do it this way better? I don't know. There's times, okay, especially if these numbers get really big, if you plug a number in, especially if it's x to the 4th or x to the 5th, and you're putting a 3 in, okay, it could change it. All right. I'm just going to erase this because I know it doesn't work, just to keep everything together. So now, 1 didn't work, so what do you think the next thing I would try? I would try negative 1. What do you think? You want to do it just by plugging a negative 1 in, or would you rather do the synthetic division with a negative 1? Plug it in? You like that better? All right, so let's plug it in. So negative 1 to the 4th, that's positive 1 times 2 is 2. Put a negative 1 in for this. This would be a negative 1, but minus negative 1 would be a plus 1. Everybody see that? Minus, okay, or negative 6 times negative 1, which is positive 6, plus 3. Is that going to work? I don't even care what that number is. Do I even have to waste the time to add those up? Right, it's all positive, and there's no way that's going to be a 0. So that doesn't work. So what am I going to try next? Oops. Yeah, you could try 1/2. It's fine. But do I really want to put a 1/2 in for this and for this? I mean, I guess you could. I don't know. What number is this? 14? Let me just cheat and see what the answer is. Let's see. Where's the answer to 14? Yeah, I think if I can read these answers right. What did I read the answers off? Oh, I didn't read those answers off, did I? I read off different ones. Let's just try it anyway. Let's go through the whole thing. Pretend I don't know the answer. If it was me, I would put a 3 in for this. Let's just, everybody watch, come on. Let's put a 3. Let's do it this way again. Okay, I'll alternate just to mix it up a little bit. All right, again, because if I put a 3, 3 to the 4th, 3 to the 3rd, you're going to get big numbers. It's the bigger numbers you put in for this, the more difficult it is just plug it in. So let's do this. 2, -1, 0, -6. Come on. -6 and 3. All right. Everybody watching? Bring down the 2. So what's that? 6. That's 5. That's 15. That's 15. That's 45. Is there any way? What's that? -39. Is there any way that's going to be a 0? No, it doesn't even matter. All right. It's positive 39. It doesn't even matter. No, it's not going to be a 0. So I don't know. I'm kind of liking doing the synthetic division instead of plugging the numbers in. Are you? I think so. Let's try a -3. Let's see if that works. So let's list our, the beginning of it takes a little bit of effort, right? -1, 0, -6, and 3. But once we get rolling, this is kind of a nice way to do it. So multiply -6, add them up. Multiply 21. Somebody double check my arithmetic, okay? Because I can make mistakes very easily. This is what? -63. That's -69. Is there any way that's going to be a 0? There's no way. So that's not going to equal 0. So that doesn't work. Oh, my word. Yeah, it's above and beyond. I'll try to give you problems that don't take you forever, okay, on the quiz. I really will. Because I go through them and I look at them and I was like, if you're going to have to try 4, 5, 6, 7 different things, I'm not going to give that to you on the quiz, all right, just because of the time it takes. Let's try next one. Half. Let's try a half. I haven't tried this before. Whoops. My pen would write. Can we do this? Maybe. -1, 0, -6, and 3. All right, let's see if this works. You could just plug a 1/2 in for the x, couldn't you? All right, so that's fine. If you like to do it better that way, perfectly fine. It's whatever you like to do. All right, what's this? Half of 2 is 1. Add them up, 0. Half of 0 is 0. Add them up. Half of 0 is 0. Add them up. Half of -6 is, look at that, -3. Now, you got to agree with me. Guys, please stop. Let's pay attention. It's not a free-for-all. I could just not give you a review for the quiz and just teach the next lesson and give you the quiz tomorrow. I'm perfectly fine with that. I got all my notes for the next 2 lessons, all right, so I could do that. So pay attention when I'm trying to do something up here. It's just rude. So look, you do have a 0 right there, so guess what? 1/2 is one of your factors, okay? So x minus a half is one of your factors, is a factor. All right? So what do we have left over then? Once I got all that stuff, this is my remainder. That's my constant, my x squared, and what? X cubed. Or you could always do it this way. This is x to the 4th. This one's always going to be 1 less than, right, the x to the 4th. Everybody got that? So what do we have? We got 2x cubed plus what? 0x squared plus 0x squared minus 6. Correct?
Yeah.
All right, equals 0. Now remember, this is also being multiplied by that. All right. I just don't get it. All right. So let's see. What can we do with this? Could factor out of 2, couldn't we? Yes? I'm trying to think the best way to do this. Yeah, we could factor out of 2. Let's do that. So minus 1/2. If I factor out of 2, I could put it out in front. What am I left with if I factor out of 2 from this? X cubed minus what? 3. Yeah, sorry. 3. I was looking at that too. Equals 0. So watch what happens. Divide both sides by 2. I don't even need that 2 anymore, do I? Because 0 divided by 2 is 2. So what's this? X equals 1/2. And how am I going to do this? Could add a 3 to both sides, so x cubed is equal to 3. I could take the cube root of this, right? It's kind of weird. We haven't done that. We've taken the square root. We haven't taken the cube root of this. But the cube root, because it says, the question says, determine the rational roots. Is this going to come out to a rational number? No. The square root, the cube root of something, if it doesn't come out to a nice even integer, is not a rational number. So this is not rational, so I don't even have to worry about this. So really, what's my only answer? X equals 1/2. So when I said up here at the beginning, I technically wasn't exactly right when I said just solve for it, because this one says solve for the what? The rational roots. It doesn't just say find all the roots. It says find the rational roots. Okay? This is your only rational answer. So that's your answer. It's just 1/2. That's it. All right? So that's the only thing that if I plug it in for this, that'll make this thing equal to 0. So that was a little more complicated than the examples and stuff like that that we've done. I pretty much will look at these problems and not give you something like that. I'm going to give you something that comes out the way that we've always done it, okay? If for lack of a better way of saying that. Because that was the next to last one, wasn't it? Does 15 come out normal? Comes out to 2 fractions, so you're going to have to put some fractions in. I can almost guarantee that when you... I shouldn't do this, but I can almost guarantee that on the quiz, I'm going to give you ones that aren't going to come out to fractions at the end. Is that fair? Yes, you're welcome. Thank you for saying thank you. I could be tough guy, right? And like, I'm going to make them really think, all right? But we thought right here, that's good enough. I just want to get an idea that you're kind of on board with this, all right? Does that make sense? So if you can do this one, you can do any of them, really. You want to go back to 4.3? So let's take a look at 4.3 and see what that was all about. Wasn't it kind of the same thing? Yeah, kind of. So let's look. Well, this one says divide using synthetic division. Well, we've done synthetic division so much, I don't think I have to do just a synthetic division one. But I'll probably give you a couple on there. I got to get 10 problems, right? So maybe I'll give you 2 or 3 of them. I don't know. All right? But I'll give you ones that, work out real nice. And so, yeah, absolutely. Synthetic division, I'll put a couple of those on there. Hello? Okay, good question. Is there one that does that? It looks like the book just puts R and then whatever the remainder is. All right, so if you do this synthetic division thing, right, and you got, I'm just making these numbers up. Don't write this down. 2, -1. If I had something like this, all right, and this came out to a remainder of that's not 0, like a 5, I don't know what this comes out to. Again, don't write it down. If it comes out to this, then you would say, I don't know, whatever your numbers are, 3x squared, 3x squared minus 2x. Again, I'm just making these numbers up, all right? And then the book puts R5, okay? Now, technically, your remainder is over the thing that you're dividing by, called your divisor. So what are you dividing by? Not -2. What are you dividing by? X what? +2. So really, it would be plus 5 over x plus 2. So that's really the best way to write a remainder. But with that said, on this quiz right here, I'll just let you put R5. Okay? So write all this and then put at the end of it R5. And I know what that means. That's your remainder. Good question. Thanks for that. Everybody with me? Because that's the way they do it in the book. All right? But there's a lot of other times where you're going to see them do this with the remainder. Okay? Hannah? Oh, I thought you had your hand up. All right. What about 20 to 25? That's a chunk that I gave you. You know what? I probably will not give you that. It just says, tell whether it's a factor of the polynomial. I don't know. Maybe I will. I got to put 10 questions on there, right? And I don't want them all real long questions. It's going to take forever. So yeah, I could put something like 20 to 25 on there. So what would you do? Let's pick one. Let's pick one that actually works. Let's do number 21. Okay, so I'm doing number 21. On section 4.3. So it's 5x to the, or x to the 5th plus 32 divided by x plus 2. Okay? And the question says, use the remainder theorem to find the remainder for each division and state whether it's a factor of the polynomial. All right? So we're just finding. Now, if the remainder is not 0, then it's not a factor, correct? So the only time the remainder, or the only time it's a factor is if the remainder is 0. So what we have to do is just divide. So we could do long division, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do synthetic division. So what are we dividing by? What's going to go in that little box right there? A -2. And what are we going to put out here? This is going to be x to the 5th. That's 1x to the 5th, so a 1. But guess what? What are we going to put we're going to put all in between until we get to 32. We're going to put 0. So this would be x to the 4th, x cubed, x squared, x, and now our constant 32. So that's a little weird, but you get that idea, don't you? Yeah. And now bring this down and you do your thing. Multiply, -2. Add them up, -2. Multiply 4, add them 4. -8, add them, -8. Multiply 16, okay? And to add them up, 16. Multiply -32. Oops, come on, pen. It's my pen. It acts weird. I think when I write too fast, it does that. So what happens here? It's 0. So is x plus 2 a factor of x to the 5th plus 32? You would say yes. Okay? And the question says, what's the remainder? So if it's a factor, the remainder is always going to be what?
0.
Right. So remainder is always going to be 0. So sure, I could put a couple of those on there. That wouldn't take that long, right? You really need to know your synthetic division, don't you? But at this point, it's piece of cake now, isn't it? Should be. Yeah, we've done it so many times. Shouldn't have an issue with it. What else can I put on here? 29 to 34. Is that right? Did I assign those? I think I did. 29 to 34 on section 4.3. It says determine the binomial factors of each polynomial. So you're not actually finding the roots, you're just finding the factors. So, I don't know, do you have a preference on 29 to 34? Let me just find one that comes out kind of nice. Let's do 33. Again, x cubed plus 4x squared minus x minus 4. Minus x minus 4. So we're not actually solving for x here. We're just finding the factors. So what's my answer going to look like? It's just going to be a bunch of these. Not a bunch, but how many of them? 3 of them, because that's x cubed. All right, so that's what my answer is going to look like. I'm not going to set it equal to 0 and solve for x. I'm just finding my factors. So what do? Take that 4, right, and break it down into its factors. So it's going to be plus or minus. What are my possible factors now? 1, 2, and 4. So what do? Take the first one, plug it in. We could do synthetic division, right? Or you could just plug it in. If it's a 1, I would probably just plug it in. All right, so I'd probably just go f of 1. So put a 1 in there. 1 cubed is 1 plus, what's that? 4 minus 1 minus 4. That's a 4. It's ugly. That's 5. That's negative 5. Look at that. First shot. It's a 0. All right, so that's good. So that means what? One of these factors is x minus 1. Okay? But you guys look up here instead of out the door. This is so frustrating. So now what do? What are we going to do now? Take that and actually divide it, right? So we go negative 1, and then what's my coefficients? 1, 4, negative 1, negative 4. Let's see what we get. So what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to find my other factors, right? Trying to find these two. Now, if I wanted to, if you really wanted to, you could just keep trying all these numbers. But that's 6 numbers you're going to have to plug into this, all right? I think it's a little more efficient just to go ahead and take that one factor and divide it by this and find out what's left over. So let's do it. That's negative 1. That's 3. That's negative 3. That's negative 4. That's 4. And that's 0. So what do I have? That's my remainder. That's my constant, x squared. So that's x squared plus 3x minus 4. Okay? And remember, this is being multiplied by x minus 1. I don't know why I wrote it so far away, but there it is. Did I do that right? What did I write? Did I? Oh, thank you. Yep. I put a negative 1. This shouldn't be negative 1. What should it be? Because if this comes out... Oh, I did a negative 1 here. Yeah. So that's going to be a factor as well. You're absolutely right. Sorry. I should not have put a minus 1 there. Is that correct? Right, because x minus 1, I should have just put a 1 there. But it was a fortunate mistake, all right? Because we know that x minus 1 works, so, and we did the division, so with a positive 1, so you know that x plus 1 is going to be 1, isn't it? All right? And then, I don't know what I could have, let's see. Now, what's that? X plus 4 is the other one? Okay, so I just messed up. Because I'm going to have to do another division to find it, so I screwed up. Right. Right, so you know that. So you're just going to take the x plus 1 out of this, correct? Yeah. So we're going to go negative. Now we're going to go negative 1. But I did it over here. Is that good? Does that work? Oh, I can just factor this. What am I doing? That's silly. Look, I can just factor this just normally. All right? Does that factor? I don't know. I screwed up here. If I was to do this, if I saw this, if I was taking the quiz or a test, I'd probably go back to where I started just so I don't screw everything up again. But this does factor, doesn't it? It'd be x and x. It'd be plus 4 minus 1. Is that correct? Negative 4 plus 1. I already got a -1, so my other one is x plus 4. There we go. And there's my factors. Is that what the answer was? Okay, good. Yep. There you go. Sorry I messed that one up, but that's the idea. So I think we've covered, how many different things did we cover? Maybe 5? 5 different topics, maybe, or slightly, different. So yeah, let's go 10 questions, okay? Let's go 10 questions. Some of these are very short. Some of them take a little bit longer, but yeah, we'll do 10 questions on the quiz, which is tomorrow. It's up to you. Do you want to hang on to that to study? You'd rather just turn it in? I don't care. Turn it in. I'm not going to grade it tonight. Turn it in. At least I'll have it. And then if you want to hang on to it, and turn it in tomorrow, it's fine. I won't count it late. All right. I'll just collect it tomorrow.